Join us as we unravel the story of how a shy accountant turned his passion into a $30 billion empire, defying the odds and changing the game forever. This is the story of Nike and the man who just did it. Undeterred by the lack of support, Phil embarked on a daring journey. Armed with just his savings, he ventured to Japan in pursuit of the perfect shoemaker. After facing numerous rejections and obstacles, he finally found a partner willing to bring his vision to life. With a trunk full of shoes, Phil hit the American streets, tirelessly selling his wares. His persistence paid off, and in 1964, he sold $8,000 worth of shoes, earning a $240 profit. This was just the beginning. Year after year, Phil's sales continued to soar, leading to the birth of Nike in 1972, named after the Greek goddess of victory. Today, the company boasts a staggering $30 billion valuation, with its famous logo and slogan "Just Do It" known globally. Nike has been associated with some of the greatest athletes of all time, including the legendary Michael Jordan, who redefined the game of basketball with his electrifying skills and style. But how the hell did he do all of this? It was in Kobe, Japan, where Phil came across a running shoe that caught his eye, the Tiger shoe manufactured by Onitsuka. Despite having no business experience, Phil managed to arrange a meeting with the manufacturers, introducing himself as an American shoe distributor who is going to help market their shoes in America. To the surprise of both parties, Onitsuka had been looking for a way to sell its shoes in America, and they were thrilled with Phil's idea. In the meeting, Phil recited parts of his presentation showing his knowledge of the American shoe market and how Onitsuka's Tiger shoes could fit into the market. When asked about the company he represented, Phil was at a loss until he remembered the blue ribbons from his childhood and blurted out, "Gentlemen, I represent Blue Ribbon Sports of Portland, Oregon." The Japanese company was so impressed that they asked Phil to be their distribution partner in the United States, to which he agreed, and just like that, Phil's crazy idea was on its way to becoming a reality. After returning from a successful meeting with a Japanese shoe manufacturer, Phil was promised shoe samples that he eagerly awaited. However, as the months passed, the samples never arrived, and Phil was left with a sinking feeling that he'd been scammed. Undeterred, he got a job as an accountant and tried to make some money. And then one day, a package arrived. It was 12 pairs of shoes from Japan, and they were everything that Phil had hoped for. He showed them to his old running coach, Bill Bowerman, who was so impressed that he offered to be Phil's business partner. They co-founded Blue Ribbon Sports with a shared investment and started selling shoes from the trunk of Phil's car. To their surprise, they sold all 300 pairs within just 3 months, and by the end of their first year, they'd sold $8,000 worth of shoes. Phil and Bowerman continued to grow their company and recruit passionate sales reps who drove all over America selling shoes. After this, Phil approached Onitsuka, the manufacturer of the shoes, with a proposition. However, Onitsuka was wary of Phil's company. They didn't think Blue Ribbon was big enough or established enough to handle the distribution of the shoes across the entire country. They wanted to partner with offices on the East Coast, but Phil was quick to respond and told Onitsuka that they did have offices on the East Coast, which wasn't entirely true. Despite the misdirection, Onitsuka was impressed by Blue Ribbon's ambition and struck a deal for them to be the exclusive US partner for Tiger shoes. Phil ordered 20,000 more pairs, eager to make this partnership a success. However, he soon realized that he needed more money to open the offices on the East Coast and raise more capital. He sent out flyers advertising the opportunity for people to invest in Blue Ribbon Sports, but to his disappointment, nobody responded. The only money he received was from the parents of one of his employees, Bob Woodell. They invested their entire life savings, about $8,000, in the company. Despite the challenges, Phil and his partner Bowerman loved the shoes created by Onitsuka. They respected the quality of the Japanese brand, and it seemed like a win-win for both parties. Blue Ribbon's success had led to the rapid opening of new stores, and Phil had to worry about cash flow to support the increased demand. But Onitsuka was slow to send the shoes to meet the demand, and they often prioritized their Japanese customers. Additionally, Onitsuka was slow to make the improvements that Phil and Bowerman suggested. Frustrated, Phil arranged another meeting with Onitsuka, this time with a representative named Kitami. But the meeting was strange. Kitami said that Blue Ribbon sales were disappointing and didn't seem interested in renewing the contract. Phil was confused as he felt that his company had earned the contract extension. He soon discovered that Onitsuka was secretly looking for a new distributor. Phil took a folder out of his briefcase containing a list of 18 athletic shoe distributors in the United States and a schedule of appointments to meet them. He was determined to keep Blue Ribbon as a distributor for Onitsuka and was willing to fight for it. The success of Blue Ribbon in the United States was due to their efforts, and Phil wasn't going to let Onitsuka replace them without a fight. He was ready to show the world what Blue Ribbon could do and make his vision into a reality. Phil was stunned by the events that transpired in the meeting, but soon enough, he rose like a phoenix from the ashes of defeat and decided to fight back. Alongside Bowerman, they realized that losing Onitsuka Tiger was a blessing in disguise. They could be more than just a distributor. Bowerman had designed the Cortez, Onitsuka's best-selling shoe, so why couldn't they just make their own shoes? This could give them complete control over production, and they could sell as many shoes as they wanted. The co-founders rallied the team and began working on creating their own original shoes. But first, they needed a new name. Phil wanted to call their new brand Dimension 6, but was met with resistance. Jeff Johnson, their first employee, then had an epiphany in his dream and suggested the name Nike. It was a reference to the Greek winged goddess of victory and made sense for a sports brand. Phil reluctantly agreed to the name as they were running out of time. They then hired a graphic design student to create the now iconic swoosh logo for $35. Next, Phil needed a shoemaker to produce high-quality shoes at an affordable price. The first manufacturers they tested were plagued with quality control issues. Phil rallied his team in a meeting, reminding them that they had control over their own destiny, and this was a liberation from Onitsuka's hold over them. To avoid the same mistakes he made with Onitsuka, Phil established a network of manufacturers, giving him full control over production. Onitsuka sued Blue Ribbon Sports, claiming a breach of contract, but Phil countersued, stating that Onitsuka was actively trying to break their exclusivity deal. Eventually, both parties settled and went their separate ways. In 1971, Blue Ribbon Sports officially became Nike, and by then, they had crossed $1 million in sales per year. The rest, as they say, is history. Nike went on to become the world's most famous sports brand, and at the 1972 Olympics, they made a grand appearance. Nike faced a major challenge when its competitors and the federal government teamed up against them. The competitors realized that by creating an American alternative to Nike's Japanese-made shoes and pricing them steeply, they could effectively get Nike hit with high import fees due to an American selling price rule. This meant that Phil Knight, the founder of Nike, would have to pay an extra $6 per imported pair. To make matters worse, the import duties were backdated 3 years, resulting in a staggering $25 million bill. Phil fought back, hiring a top lawyer and battling in court for 3 grueling years against the customs office and other shoe companies like Converse and Keds. Nike even produced a TV commercial to rally support from customers. In the end, a settlement of $9 million was reached instead of the full $25 million. The legal battle made Nike stronger, and the company eventually became a public company, eliminating their cash flow problems and allowing for even more growth. Phil, who owned a 46% share of the company, became wealthy, and the early employees' parents, who invested their life savings into the company, saw their $8,000 investment grow to $1.6 million. Nike continued to grow, branching out into clothing and securing endorsement deals with athletes, including Tiger Woods, LeBron James, and Michael Jordan. However, behind the success was a dark secret involving child labor and exploitation in underdeveloped countries. In 1991, American labor activist Jeffrey Bellinger published a report that nearly destroyed Nike's reputation, exposing the company's use of child labor and harsh working conditions in foreign factories. Despite the backlash, Nike managed to weather the storm and remains a successful brand to this day. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the story of Nike and the man behind its success, Phil Knight. That's it for today. Meet you in the next one, and until then, stay safe.